It's going to be a morning of absolute fireworks here on Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1 Love Music, Love Live, 31 minutes past 7 a.m. The Smooth Breakfast is in full swing, and yours truly right here with you, Ayokunmi Kekeriekon. And we are looking forward to interesting stories, analysis, your thoughts and contributions as well. And you know that you make the show even more robust than it actually is. So, all you need to do to be part of everything interesting this morning is to join us on WhatsApp and on YouTube as well. The WhatsApp number 0911 you need to tell a friend that this is where they need to be at this particular time every day of the week, working week, that is Monday through Friday. Join us on YouTube, Smooth 981 FM Lagos, Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Leave your comments in the chat box there. Let's make it a money-making Monday to remember. Joining me for analysis, they are ready, willing, and able, Mr. C, and of course, AB Bozimo. AB, very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Mr. C. And good morning to all of the wonderful listeners. Let's see what sense we can make of the Nigerian situation through our stories today.
Mr. C, welcome.
Good morning, Nair. Good morning, Navy. Good morning, Lagos.
All right. And on that note, let us begin talking about Ghost of Refineries Present. We're stepping into the punch and talking about this story. The refineries in Port Harcourt, Kaduna, and Warri are rotting away despite the over $3 billion contract sum to resuscitate them. That's according to findings.
Sorry, how much? What currency?
3 billion US dollars.
Okay, continue.
Specific. Yes, according to findings in the Sunday Punch. Now, visits to the refineries by their correspondents in Rivers, Kaduna, and Delta states confirmed that the humongous amount, which is now subject of investigation by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, failed to yield the desired results. Now, Sunday Punch gathered that refinery workers resume and close at any time because they have nothing to do. Mr. C.
Mr. C, why are you smiling?
Okay,
Here we are.
okay, so let's go. So, very interesting headline. Because the refineries are not working, we're told that they're starting to rot. Now, before I dive into this story, there was a story last week in relation to another company called the Ajakuta Steel Company. And we were told by this government that the facilities and the property of that company are in robust condition. They're in good and robust, that they're in good shape, and that they're in a robust condition. Now, it's no surprise because it's even clear to the blind and loud to the deaf that the state-owned refineries are not working for a myriad of reasons, a collection of reasons. Now, $3 billion has not only been approved, it has been disbursed, it has been spent, and there's nothing to show for it. In February 2023, $740 million was allocated for what was termed a quick fix of the Kaduna refinery. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing doing. Now, with all of these refineries and even their Jakarta Steel Company, guess what? They have workers on the payroll. Now, big question, what are the workers doing? It's a very big question because if the workers are not working or not doing anything, why are they being paid? Why are they still on the roll? Now, I'm going to read a comment from the NNPC's CL spokesperson, Mr. Andy Odi. And he says, I'm quoting verbatim, the NNPCL is determined to provide a sustainable solution to its three refineries. Actually, it's four, because there are two in Port Harcourt, one in Warri, one in Kaduna. So he's not even informed, he's not totally informed about what the NNPCL owns, which is tragic. The NNPCL is determined to provide a sustainable solution to its four refineries in order to restore them into full operations. Detailed technical and commercial reviews of the Port Harcourt, Kaduna, and Warri refineries are ongoing. And that was the end of his statement. No timeline, nothing to look forward to. Now, we are aware that the EFCC has commenced investigations into the refinery debacle. But I think it's crystal clear that between the officers who were in charge at the NNPCL and the contractors, we have a clear idea of what happened and what did not happen. What did not happen was that the refineries were not restored to full working conditions.
Right.
Despite the theatrics and the false PR exercises where we saw trucks lined up by loading bays, where we were told by some individuals that loading and operations have started and would ramp up, it is now clear none of that happened. Now, where are we? 3 billion down the drain. The NNPCL still insists it's committed to repairing them. Now, the questions are many. One, given the age of these refineries, given the technology that was used in constructing them, in equipping the machines, are those technologies still relevant today? Are they not obsolete? Now, if they're not relevant and they're obsolete, what is the plan going forward? Is it cheaper to build new refineries from scratch? Or is it more cost expedient or cost reflective to continue to, in quote, repair and turn around these places?
But they're not working.
Well, they claim, so according to the NNPC, it's for a season and they will soon start working. We have people who don't subscribe to that position have valid reasons for not subscribing to it. Now we have a refinery, a major refinery that is working, and there have been attempts, continued attempts to try to suppress and frustrate that refinery. Now, if for any reason that major refinery closes shop, where does that leave the country? We're back into the season or the regime of full-on importation of fuel products.
Now we know how that worked out.
Now, how does that make any sense? Why is the government unwilling to address this matter? Why can't a decision be made? Strip down the locations of these refineries and then install newer, smaller refineries reflecting current technology or even future technology that will be beneficial to the country. Why continue to tell us you are studying these refineries? I'm sitting here, I know those refineries are not going to work. I'm not a major in petroleum engineering or chemical engineering, but I know that those refineries are not going to work. So why continue to waste everyone's time?
Will the government agree with that position, or do they feel like a miracle could possibly happen? Because, I mean, we are not in that sector. We are not professional. We're not engineers and all, but we can see that after all these monies have been spent, we're still struggling. So what could this situation actually be?
So the refineries are like a Ayokunmi. It's just an avenue for a successive administration to come, throw money at it, and go away, knowing fully well that it's not going to work. Ajakuta, as it's presently constituted, presently arranged, will not work. It's not going to happen. So the sooner we start telling ourselves the cold truth, the happier we'll all be.
Ebi.
I noticed that Dapman or whatever their name was, is nowhere to be seen in this story. $3+ billion US. Pengasan is nowhere to be seen. $3+ billion. Ideally, if those refineries were working, there would be too much work for the Pengasan members to do. They would earn amazingly. They would have excellent quality of life. There is, like Mr. C said, an existing refinery where you find them going to line up their trucks and block the entrance like the hoodlums that they are behaving like. So let's ask ourselves, what are the different approaches? How can all this money go? Then now, late in the day, EFCC now wakes up to find out what is going on. Well, EFCC, Ekabo, welcome. We'll see if anything at all will possibly come out of this so-called, I didn't stutter, so-called investigation. I have zero confidence. Listen, the equipment itself may be salvageable. You know, some of these things have long lifespans and everything. The problem is there are saboteurs and there are people who join with the saboteurs to ensure that this thing don't work so that they can have other sources. Some people thrive on the chaos of lack. So let's just keep it real. You have some aeroplanes that are still flying 30, 40 years later. Equipment, when properly engineered and properly maintained can work serviceably for decades. I don't have any specific reason as a non-engineer to believe that the refineries cannot be rescued. But some people benefit from those contracts being signed over and over again, knowing, like Mr. Z said, that they have no intention of letting it work. Because if not, how can I sign the contract again next year?
There is so much going on in this great country of ours. I mean, for you listening to us right now, $3 billion plus. When do we pack it in? Or do we still give them a chance to turn it
So
around?
let me throw something in. If at the end of this technical review, they then decide, okay, we found the contractor who will make it right. His name is Ayo. Once we give him 5 billion or 7.5 billion, everything's going to work. So they're going to throw new money at a new contractor.
And then rinse and repeat once again.
No. This time it's under the renewed hope mantra. So
they will throw it just
the contractor
before
they bring this time will get it right.
They will throw it just before the elections, I should add.
Well, thankfully, AB, there are a lot of IOs out there. So, and I'm not an engineer, so I think I'm safe on this one. Okay. AB,
clearly, those who have been working on it may not have an engineering background either. That's why they have failed. But let's go on.
All right, let's step into The Guardian, where organized labor in Ondo State, under the aegis of the Nigeria Labour Congress, the NLC, and its affiliate unions, has demanded an immediate increase in the minimum wage for workers in the state, arguing that the current wage is unsustainable considering the economic situation of the country. The labor unions, in a letter addressed to Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa, stated that the minimum wage be raised from the current 73,000 to a proposed 256,950 naira. AB, what do you think is the thought process behind this particular amount? Because it seems very precise, if I can put it that way.
Let's say, oh, here we go again. First of all, on a matter of grammar, it is not that the current rate is unsustainable, it's insufficient. Unsustainable actually suggests that they're on the governor's side, because the governor would say that paying them a higher rate is unsustainable. So get your English right, Labour. Now, they are referring to the skyrocketing costs of food, transportation, housing, and healthcare, at least as four basic things that they feel have gone up so much that the current minimum wage is insufficient. Has Labour ever thought of a strategy where they can publicly propose ways to improve food production as Labour, propose ways that government must support the transportation sector in that state as Labour, propose ways where housing must, which is one of the fundamentals of human life, must be supported by the government, and healthcare must be improved by the government? I am not yet looking at the number. I'm looking at the strategy by Labour to just complain when it was clear, when it was proposed, that that amount was already too small. Maybe they started with 500 and something thousand or million each month that they wanted. Then Tinubu just gave them 70,000. And they went, opened their teeth shining like diamonds, and they were shaking hands saying that this is wonderful. Was that not, am I dreaming? Was that not what happened? It is no surprise that these numbers have not kept up with the times. And that's because pursuing your tail, asking for more, then adding inflation to it and asking for more is not indeed a sustainable approach. I am not arguing that these amounts disappear literally as soon as you get them, but what part of labor as a group, as an organization, is actually looking at, they identified food, transport, housing, and healthcare. What part is labor doing to say this is what government should do? I'm talking right now, we're talking about Ondo State, but in general, how is labor addressing those very things and saying this and this must be put in place to improve food accessibility and lower pricing? This and this is what should be done so that transportation becomes more accessible. This and this should be done for housing and for healthcare. So just always coming and asking for a number, whether it's 10 naira, 10,000 or 10 million, without benchmarking it against the cost of living. I think that number must have come, they must have done a spreadsheet, hopefully, not on a piece of paper or a napkin, where they put cost of rent, cost of this, cost of food, and then they now added it up and came to that. The Ondo State workers are saying Imo State is even paying up to 104,000, and they, being an oil producing state, should actually earn much more. I have no arguments with that. My point is that this strategy of waiting for, as they say in local parlance, market to fall and press your head and then go and ask for more money is not a useful or sustainable way. Instead, I would like to see Labour go on strike to say, if a government does not do X, Y, and Z in the housing, healthcare, food, and transportation sector, we will not go back to work. And then step up and show how they as Labour will contribute the labor to improve these scenarios. I think this is just another complaint. It won't go very far. They may get an uptick in their raise, but will that actually be connected to the real cost of living? That remains to be seen.
Okay, very quickly, to add to what AD has said, I agree with everything he said. Has Labour shown how they can increase and improve the GDP of the Ondo State economy? Have they shown anything workable, anything you can look at and review to show that, okay, this is where we are, this is where we can get you to, but we need to do this? Now, is Labour also aware that on those states, if you combine the current IGL and what they get from FAC, they can't afford this?
Well, according to them, there's an uptick in what is coming to the state. So I don't know how they crunch their own numbers.
So again, this is why I tell them, this is why I wish Labour would get professional negotiators, professional experts who are good at these things. They crunch numbers, come up with models, show to the government, you are not doing this. You need to do this to get us here. So it's almost as if almost all the states in Nigeria, the governors have no KPIs, really and truly, and they're chief executives in a sense. So if you have no KPI, there's nothing to aspire to. There's a state in the northwest, they spend almost 20 or 25% of the monies they collect as IGR to buy cars.
That's the most pressing need for them, I guess.
I rest my case.
Let me take a message or two here before I come back to you, Mr. C. This is Emeka Inikeja, who says $3 billion, yet no drop of petroleum from NNPCL. So why do we say that crime doesn't pay when nobody's in jail for non-performance and swindling? Here, crime pays, please. This is Ajayi Olunlua in Magodo Jerry Sherry. Good morning to you, Ajayi. Yes, indeed, another rainy Monday morning to start the week. But hey, fireworks here are definitely keeping you all very, very warm. Now he says, here we are again to the stories of the NNPCL and its moribund refineries. Port Harcourt Refinery was established by a private company before it was taken over by the military government. The way out is to simply return it to private investors, as it will never work under the government. Will they want that to happen? I just wonder. Anyways, Mr. C, let's talk security, because it's every 2 market days we have matters of security on the show, and we need to bring these to national consciousness. This is from the Vanguard. A notorious bandit leader, I call him terrorist leader, really, Kachala Umaru, has warned security operatives that adopting a purely kinetic approach to tackling insecurity in Katsina State would only worsen the crisis, insisting that, and I quote, "If you kill 10 of us today, 20 more will emerge tomorrow." Now, he issued the warning at the weekend during a peace meeting, and I put peace meeting in huge quotes here, between bandit groups and community leaders in the Matazu local government areas. Mr. C, I'm pretty sure you've seen the videos, and you just begin to ask yourself how a wanted terrorist leader, even if he's not wanted, he's a notorious terrorist, this bandit's tag, it's not working, is able to have a press conference. He even held a mic. And here we are talking about peace.
So you will recall, and for people who tune in consistently to this show, that I have doubted the sincerity of the government to tackle this problem. I have doubted the existence of any serious political will to tackle this problem. And I've also said that you cannot only adopt a kinetic approach, because the major driver of this nonsense going on, this criminality, is economic. Now we have this guy, and I need to quote him verbatim because some wonderful things were said, and it makes you question why you're a Nigerian and why you're still in this country. Now, so let's listen. If our boys mistakenly abduct anyone, or if security operatives, yes, mistakenly, or if security operatives apprehend one of us, stakeholders should be involved and see that the person taken is released. There's so many things wrong with that statement. First of all, nobody should be abducted. It's illegal under the law, whether it's deliberately or accidentally. Now, I don't even understand.
I wonder if you accidentally abduct someone.
No, it's a confidence to say someone was mistakenly accidentally abducted. Then he's addressing the DPO of Damusa local government and telling him it's in his own interest to respect the terms of the agreement. This is coupled with the fact that there's a video on social media now where a wanted terrorist leader is addressing a press conference within Nigeria. You cannot make this. Now, in Katsina State, 9 local governments have now entered peace agreements with terrorist non-state actors.
And I'm sure those are not the last.
No, they're not the last. 9 out of 34. They're almost up to a third of the states. Now, on a lighter note, were these agreements signed? Were they reduced into writing? Is the language of the agreement Hausa, Arabic, or English? Were there witnesses to these agreements? But it shows the continuing failure of the recognized state actors. And it raises the point, is this a good time for state police to step in? Should we now have the state police? But the bigger question is, beyond the concept or the idea of the state police, which should be good to have, can the state police be adequately and properly funded and equipped and controlled so that they don't become rogue agents? 2, should Nigerians start bearing arms? Now, in the Southwest, we're good because it hasn't come to our doorsteps. This sort of nonsense hasn't come to our doorsteps. But how does this make any sense? That a terrorist actor will openly caution an official from the recognized state actors and tell him he should literally behave himself and do what he asks him to do. It's shocking. We have a minister for defense, we have a minister of state for defense, we have a national security advisor, we have the IGP, we have the service chiefs, we have paramilitary heads, and all of this is happening.
And it seems to be getting worse each and every single day.
And this is a state that has produced 2 presidents. Incidentally, both of them are late. And it's not isolated to Katsina. In a good number of Nigerian states, terrorist non-state actors hold sway and are determining things. For how long will this continue?
For me, I just want to say, as much as the person said, if we kill 10, 20 will rise, I think we should take them up on that and start terminating them and seeing how they rise, because it should be state policy to, first of all, exhaust those numbers. Then we can now have the conversations. But the conversations appall me because the people seem to be talking from a position of authority and strength to our services. At a point, you begin to ask yourself about collusion between security forces, I'm sorry to say, and some of these terrorists, because the soldiers I know don't joke. You know, you meet a soldier maybe in a store, I respect them, I greet them, I regard them highly because they merit that regard. But I'm not understanding these soldiers who are supposed to be in these areas that are standing by, seemingly arms folded, while terrorists are holding microphones. Ayo, watch out, your job is at risk. You have a microphone, a terrorist has a microphone. Watch out.
Okay, so let me leave our listeners with a verbatim quote from this terrorist non-state actor leader. And this is what he says. To you, the DPO of Danmusa local government area, if you want these peace talks to yield anything tangible, then every favor we seek should be considered and done for us and from your end. Every favor. Let that sink in for everyone listening. Not most favors, not some, every favor.
What does it mean to determine that a favor is a favor by its very definition, not discretionary? I beg, next story.
All right, AB, because of time, let's just dive into this one in the punch. The story says Nigeria earned $2.21 billion from crude oil exports to the United States in the first 7 months of 2025, according to fresh data released by the U.S. Census Bureau and the Bureau of Economic Analysis. I'll let you dive into it, AB, so we can get through that one.
What did we do with it? That is the bottom line, because it doesn't matter how much or how little we earn. How do we translate those earnings into benefits for the Nigerian person? That is at the core of it. Apparently, we are the largest exporter to the US right now. Other African nations like Angola, Libya, and Ghana have done a bit, but we are doing over 50% of what is going to the US. Now, the amounts we are earning are volatile because sometimes the cost of the oil is very low. Other times, the amount that's being imported varies widely. All these are numbers. Go and read the story yourself, is in the punch. The bottom line is, what are we doing when we earn these types of money? How do we convert it into benefits for Nigeria? If we are not able to see a connection, a direct line between what we sell, what we earn, and improvements in the lives of Nigerians, if despite these earnings, we still have no ambassadors in any of the countries, if despite these earnings, generally, we are not seeing a good quality of life, then apart from the federal government, we have to ask our various seemingly indolent state governors what they're doing with the improved revenues. Because there is a huge quantum of money that goes directly to the state governors and the local governments from the FAAC allocation. That money is earned, is converted into naira, is distributed at three levels: federal, state, and local government. How is your street? That is your local government. Are the drains taken care of? Is sanitation taken care of? At the local hospital, can you get Panadol? Is there a syringe? Then at your state level, are interlocal government roads any better? Are some of those bottlenecks that you and I are very familiar with being made better? Before we go back to what is the federal government doing with the money. So people, these are just numbers. If they're not translating into a better life for me and you, then they remain foggy, irrelevant numbers that don't touch wood. It's important that we understand how that amount is translated into a better life. That is the story. That we sold it to America, we sold it to Ghana, we sold it to Timbuktu. I don't care. What do we do with the money?
All right, thank you for sharing that, AB. Mr. C, I mean, we need to wrap it up pretty soon, but I just need to talk about what's going on in River States, kind of like an update here. Also in the Punch newspaper, where the immediate past River State Administrator, Vice Admiral Ibokete was retired, and the River State House of Assembly may be gearing up for a showdown following the latter's decision to probe the state's expenditure over the last few months under the former. Now, of course, Ibas has ceased to be the administrator, and the House have said they are going to probe spendings within the period where he was the administrator. But I mean, he has more or less said that they don't have jurisdiction to do that because he was appointed by the president.
Okay, so very quickly, the story is in the Punch, and I invite everyone to read it. Respectfully, I think Mr. Ibas is wrong, that he can be investigated by the River State House of Assembly. And the explanation of the reason is simple. The monies that he supposedly spent were monies that accrued to River State by provisions of the 1999 Constitution. Now, under the same Constitution, the body tasked with the responsibility of determining if, when, and how the River State government can spend money is the River State House of Assembly. So it is well within their constitutional and legal profile to investigate sums that have been spent. And where they don't have satisfactory answers, they can then invite the necessary individuals and request for the necessary documents to look into it.
Mm.
So his explanation that he was appointed by the president is neither here nor there, because even the president is accountable, at least on paper, to the National Assembly.
Right, right,
So
right.
rather, I would advise Mr. Abbas, prepare yourself to render an account of your stewardship over the past 6 months. If you did everything properly, then there's nothing to be afraid of. Simple.
Simple as. All right, let me take your messages as we wrap it up this morning. Tayo, who is in Ajas, says, with all these issues facing our refineries, how is NNPCL still working? That man is focused on live issues like Dangote. That man will let the dead rest. Ayo, the contractor, remember your loyal listeners. Well, like I said, I'm not an engineer, so it's another Ayo entirely. It can't be this Ayo, please. That understate labor and this their demand. Are we planning for strike if it's met? Security in Nigeria is very funny. I won't be surprised if the terrorists have relatives in the army who might leak intelligence. It's not a favor, it's an instruction. I mean, clearly from the language.
Exactly.
Instruction. This is Michael. Michael says, we will feel woefully if we expect state police to combat terrorism in Nigeria. The argument for it is purely political as far as I'm concerned. The police and the military who has better training. Can the states fund them? Hopefully, terrorists won't be employed to give them better intelligence nationwide. And then it says the only numbers that matter these days are those from from the betting platforms. Michael, be careful though. Mojo from Papa says, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. Our service chiefs are allegedly complicit, not me saying it, but runaway soldiers making those statements. They have accused named generals for doing very little to ensure that insecurity is nipped. With the rising insecurity, there's more money allocated to them and more to embezzle. Do you know how rich these generals are? Oh, I mean, I've heard rumblings that they are quite well to do. Joseph Menier says, good morning to you, Joseph. We're done for if the government is only showing her might against any of her citizens whom they perceive are threats to their shenanigans and impunity. But we hear terrorists on a daily basis caution the security agencies and government not to harm their members, else hell will be let loose. The irony, every state are giving security votes and every security agency is allocated billions in every budget, but yet we still are insecure as Nigerians in Nigeria. Fabian Inekwe says, good morning to you, Fabian. It shows how ineffective our security is and the government's true attitude to terrorism for a wanted terrorist leader to hold a press conference, threaten a police officer in the full glare of everyone, and nothing happened to him. Had it been someone speaking against the government or a top official on social media, then the lion roars and arrests will be made.
Where is
Tony Marine.
DSS?
Tony Marine Beat says it gets so annoying sometimes when these analyses of the newspapers are done. I'm tempted to believe our governance problems are more spiritual than what we're looking at because I don't see how rational human beings get up there and behave the way most of them do. Until we have people whose thinking are tilted in the proper direction, we're never going to get better. Maybe the prayer warrior in the studio should get us started. Not this studio. It has to be another studio entirely because why? Tony Nisolo says, good morning. As regards the ongoing negotiations with terrorists in the north, my concern is that why is nobody suggesting negotiations with the so-called unknown gunmen in the southeast? That's because we are not in support of negotiating with the terrorists in the north to start with, Tony. That's the thing. There should be no negotiation with non-state actors. If they can get this brazen to hold press conferences and sit down, at peace talks under a canopy strapped with all the cartridges and everything without a care or fear in the world, then we should be afraid. Definitely afraid as a people. Anyways, we need to call it a morning on this show. Freshly Pressed has been an amazing one this morning. Thank you so much to you all for all the messages. You make it worth the while. And a huge thank you to you, Mr. C and AB, for making it a great start to our Monday and our week as well. AB.
Thank you. We really appreciate the listeners' input. Thank you, Mr. C, for always adding that vibe to what we're saying. Ayo, when your contract comes, your boy is here. Have a wonderful week, listeners.
Thank you, AB. Mr. C.
Thank you, Elias. Thank you, AB. Thank you to our wonderful listeners. And let's just go out and try and have a lovely day. In spite of everything, just ignore the negativity, ignore the depressing signals, and let's just be positive, forge ahead, do our very best, and enjoy the fruits of our labor.
Yes, indeed. Positive vibes all the way. As I love to say, carpe diem, seize the day. Thank you all so much once again. The fun will continue. Freshly pressed, sorry, I beg your pardon. The smooth breakfast is still in full swing. 8:15. It's going to be all about sports in the locker room. The banter is going to flow around. At least I'm safe for this week as the Red Devils did the business against Chelsea. We'll see you at 8:15.